In Europe and in the US, we don't have the same ending.
For me reading it for the first time, I definitely struggled with that.
A contemporary romance that also has the criticism of societal norms at the time.
It has influenced every modern romance novel out there.
Welcome to the Besties in the Books podcast, guys. I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley, and this is our second actual mini episode because we are making new reading guides. So this is a quick little reading guide for our series covering some classics. In case you missed it, we did one for Wuthering Heights. Boy, was that a beast. Boy, was that an undertaking. So now today we are phoning another friend for some help. Sarah over at Sarah's Literary World over on Instagram. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. She's going to share some tips and tricks and a quick little reading guide for those of you who are reading Pride and Prejudice with us for the first time by none other than the Jane Austen. So mostly a spoiler-free episode. We will warn you if some spoilers will be ensued, but we just want to help everyone kind of, deep dive gentlerly. That's not a word, but that's all right. More gentlier. Still not a word. We're going to let it go.
Good try.
As a first-time reader, some of us are still waking up. Dear Sarah's on another time zone coming in at the end of the day, so we're going to be a little, all over the place in a good way. It's going to be great.
It's great. Everything's great.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
So, as Ashley was saying, we heard you, especially with Wuthering Heights. I mean, even us, like first-time readers for Wuthering Heights, we were like, oh my gosh, like we need much more explanation. This is also a first-time read for us with Pride and Prejudice, all Jane Austen in general. So we appreciate like a little bit of guidance just to kind of like make going into this a little bit easier, because I feel like we're coming from, a contemporary space, a fantasy space, just something a little bit different. So it's also important with books like this to make sure that we're talking a little bit more about things like social context, for example. So we'll get a little bit into that. Maybe just get into what the actual genre is, who these characters are. I feel like with some of these old books, there's like a zillion characters, and sometimes it can be hard to keep track. So we'll be decoding it a little bit, if you will. So hopefully useful if you read the book before, but also extra useful if you've never read the book before. But before we bring Sarah on, we just wanted to say thank you so much for being here.
Seriously, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and your book to come and join us and hear what this chat is all about. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you like this favorite podcast, including YouTube. We are Besties in the Books podcast everywhere. And make sure you follow Sarah over on Instagram at Sarah's Literary World.
Yay! Okay, so first and foremost, let's welcome our special guest who's here to help us understand Pride and Prejudice a little bit better. So welcome Sarah at Sarah's Literary World.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
Of course. So first, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became interested in classic literature, but specifically Pride and Prejudice, and maybe tell us a little bit about your Bookstagram account.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am French, but I read and review in English. I fell in love with reading when I was a child. I was reading what we call in France Adaptations. It's Nancy Drew in English in the US, I think.
Aww.
Yeah,
And I was reading them with a little flashlight.
Yeah, love it.
Under the cover, and that's how I fell in love with it. I then became like a teenager and didn't care that much about reading. But I went back to it probably around 12 because my school teacher, my French teacher, thought that I would love Pride and Prejudice, so she recommended it to me. I read it then, and ever since, I think I've read it almost every year. So I do know it quite well.
I would say so.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I am very much versed in classics, but I did read a few classics after that one. That she recommended it to me, like Wuthering Heights, for example. I did read around that time. I haven't reread it since then, but I did listen to the podcast. That was amazing, by the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Those heavy hitters, man.
Yeah. What a wild ride that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, I think it was one of the only books that I read. Like every year, I didn't went back to reading at all until a certain age. And then I picked up Fourth Wing in 2024, and I decided to create an Instagram account to kind of journal my books and my feelings and such. And now I'm thinking about opening a YouTube channel to post my reading reaction. So it's taking like it's consuming me at the moment, we can say. And
It does. Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Oh, well, welcome. We're so excited to have you. So cool. We love that reading journey for you. Let's get into Pride and Prejudice. Okay, there's a lot of characters in Pride and Prejudice, especially being an older novel. They love to use those last names, make us all confused, but it's the proper way. So can you talk briefly a little bit about some of the major characters we need to be looking out for?
So we are following Elizabeth Bennett, and she has a few sisters, Jane, Lydia, Mary, and Kitty. They all have very different personalities. They were raised by a couple that met love at first sight.
Oh, okay.
We can say.
Yeah.
And the novel explores somehow how that can be troubling for the upbringing of a family.
Because we are kind of diving into some societal expectations with marriage and relationships. So we have there, it seemed like when I was reading it, kind of like what that would look like in a society where it is so important to marry for money, social gain, and you have parents that maybe didn't quite go down that path. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And they make a very special, very weird pairing that has an impact on all the women. You have the eldest daughters, like the two eldest daughters that are more mature, kinder, maybe more reserved, and the younger ones that are more frivolous, I guess. And it's gonna be very important for the rest of the story. The book criticizes marriage through all length, like I said, love at first sight, marriage for, like you said, for financial reasons, for social status.
I saw it as like it's symbolized by the different daughters, right? Like it's kind of like she's using the different like daughters and their relationships to kind of like show like different kinds of dynamics and how like the society at the time kind of gave women only certain options, right?
Yeah, the daughter and also the main character as a best friend who comes from not, because the Bennett is a family that is not aristocratic or not very rich, but still rich for their town, I guess, as a best friend that is from same town but with lower income. And she then marries, and we see the difference in the reason why she chose to marry. Her social status is very important, but it's not just that. She's also very old for someone to be getting a proposal.
Oh, right. She's like 27, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
An old maid at that point.
I know, my gosh. So we have the 5 daughters, the parents, and then we have at one point early on the new men of the town come in. And what are the names of those male characters that we have come on the scene?
So we have Mr. Bingley, who is coming to Netherfield to rent kind of a manor, I guess, a castle. I don't know how you say that in English. A big property.
Yeah, large estate, maybe.
And thank you, a large estate. And we follow him. He arrives in town. The town is just buzzing with excitement. Everyone visits him to place their daughters because that's the way you do things back then. And there is invited to a ball, and he comes with a big party. He plans to come with a big parties, but eventually comes with only his best friend, Mr. Darcy, who is richer than him, who is an aristocrat, a broody, and some men, I guess we can say.
Yeah, handsome but aloof.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of talk about him because he's so much more reserved than some of the other male characters on page.
Yeah, and maybe a bit judgmental.
Yeah.
And he has sisters. Mr. Bingley has a sister, and a sister-in-law, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're both coming with him, and they're all very high status. And even though Mr. Bingley is a very kind and gentlemanlike character, his family and friend are not. So I think it's very interesting because it shows that it doesn't matter how rich you are, what your social status is, there is still, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good person. And I think I think Jane Austen chose to represent that very well throughout the entire book. Like there is other characters that come through, like Lady Catherine de Bourgh, or even Mr. Collins, that are very conceited, proud characters that represent aristocrats or religious people, and they're not really great people.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they're kind of holding up these social expectations and political expectations while also because they're benefiting from it. So they are almost upset when these things don't fall through with what they would expect, because then it's gonna rock their boat. So yeah, very interesting.
The grand
Well, that's
plan.
a good little
The scheme.
it's a good introduction into some of the characters to hopefully give you guys, a little bit of a framework going into what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay, do you have one piece of advice for someone thinking about reading Pride and Prejudice? And if so, what would it be?
So I wouldn't say I have a piece of advice really, because I think it's actually one of the easiest classics to read. Like, it was written in the early 18s, but it doesn't feel very heavy or dense. It has lots of dialogues. The conversations are very sharp, witty, and often very funny. It makes it feels like it's still modern today.
Okay.
And I think that helps a lot. With it being an easy classic. And it's also like there is no long descriptive passages that you can find in some other classics, I guess.
Okay, I could see that, kind of those long meandering descriptions that can sometimes allow our brains to wander off into space. Yeah, I could see that.
It's a heavy dialogue, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, heavy in dialogue.
Yeah. But the dialogue doesn't feel like too much. It's It's often very funny.
A lot of dry
and
humor.
witty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I really feel like it just passes by.
Beautiful. All right, let's set the scene a little bit. So, do you know much about Jane Austen and what was going on socially, politically during that time period that she wrote Pride and Prejudice?
So she was an English writer born in 1775. She died at 41 of some kind of illness, which is still quite young for the time.
Yeah.
All of her novels were published anonymously during her lifetime. It was mostly because she was a woman, but also because the genre in which she writes was not very well perceived at the time. So it helped a little staying anonymous, I guess. Some of her work were published postmortem. Like Northanger Abbey and Persuasions. She has a few unfinished novels, Sandingtons, I think also The Watsons, and some other work she started when she was a child but never went back to it.
Yeah.
So was Pride and Prejudice because I was curious about this. I didn't look this up ahead of time because I was thinking we'd talk about it here. So Pride and Prejudice was published while she was still alive, but did people know that she wrote it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering, like, what the dynamic there was. Because she had published under a different name originally.
It was start published as First Impressions.
Oh, okay.
But it was her second novel. Some people knew it was her, but otherwise it was pretty anonymous.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was kind of a success, like a moderate success, but she didn't get into fame during her time, like while she was alive.
Okay.
Wow.
It all happened after, when it was republished by some publisher with illustrated pages.
Man, how interesting.
I know. I feel like we see that so often when we're going through these classics. Just like,
Especially
obviously,
written by women.
yep, not getting the cred they deserve, like, until they're already gone.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Of course not. Why would they?
Golly.
So during the time she wrote it, like, a few things happened in Europe. First, there was the French Revolutions, which did challenge a little bit the idea about class and aristocracy. Britain was also in the middle of the Napoleonic Wars. We don't really see that in the books, but there are mentions of militias in the town, like Merrington and stuff.
True. Yeah.
Like, society was structured by class, and that is, I think, the main point, the main thing that we see in the book. Everything was based on your place in society. Family, money, and social connections were everything back then, and especially for women. You couldn't marry for love. Like, it could happen, obviously, but it was mostly for financial security and social mobility. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Women had very little right.
Yeah.
They couldn't inherit. Property very easily. And that's also the main point of the book. Like, the estate they live on is entitled to a male.
Yeah, Mr. Collins. I think that was one of the things that
Yeah.
I found was most interesting. Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing, is that it's like, you know, it was the entailment law, right? Is what basically this whole thing is about the fact that when the dad, Mr. Bennett, dies, the property will not be left to any of the daughters or the wife. It'll go to the next male in the lineage, I guess you could say, or like the most closely related male, who happens to be Mr. Collins, right? And so I feel like that was a really great way to tie in some political commentary for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything that meant.
Yeah,
Oh, golly.
I mean, yeah.
Can't wait to talk about that.
That goes deep for sure. So, building off that, what would you say are the central themes for Pride and Prejudice?
The most relevant thing to say about Pride and Prejudice is that it's criticized several aspects of the society. Like I said, marriage as a social economic institution, wealth, because of the commentary we can see on some characters that are aristocrat but are like the worst character that you can find. Like being very educated and being high in the society, like doesn't give you everything, I guess. But I think it's also important to note that there is also a big part that is about personal growth and self-awareness. And I don't know if it's something that is discussed a lot with this book, but I feel like it's also very important because the title, Pride and Prejudice, that was before First Impression, is very important. It is a satire about like the lineage thing. They are gonna lose the house, so they have to get married. So this part is the main theme, but there is also like the moment she meets Darcy, it hurts her pride a little. But then we see that he compares her as unremarkable or not special enough to tempt him. I don't remember exactly how
something
he
like
say
that.
it, but
She
it's
overhears
rather
him.
rough. Yeah, but then when she goes to Mr. Bingley's house because her sister is there, that's all I'm gonna say for now. We see that there is this little moments where it's like, oh, like I know it's Elizabeth's point of view, but we kind of feel like, oh, maybe I was a little bit fast in my judgment here. Like I feel like we can see it, like when she challenges him in a little dialogue about what a woman have to do to be considered successful or.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That was a really good part. Like, yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because that resonated with me actually a lot.
Yeah. It felt like the introduction to banter or something.
Yeah.
We don't have his point of view, but I feel like we can feel it. And she stays very like intent on disliking him throughout the book, and it goes on and on and on and on. And at some point, everything shifts, and she realized that maybe she was also a little bit prejudiced. I think it shows that character growth that I was talking about earlier and self-awareness.
Kind of like how to overcome that first impression that you've created of this person in your mind. And also at the same time, I noticed that she's combating reputation.
Yeah, it's like, I think we have all done it, right? Where it's like, especially when you're younger, which all these sisters are like definitely like, you know, on the younger side. It's like, we're so quick to judge other people. And I think it shows like that growth into being like, okay, well, what are my internalized like prejudices and judgments and stuff like that? And how am I putting that onto other people and projecting that out and being able to self-reflect? So yeah, I completely agree with what you said there too.
Yeah, that's exactly that.
Yeah. What would you say this genre is considered in the book world?
So it is a romance novel, obviously. A classic Regents novel, but I think, I don't think, I'm sure. It's also categorized as a satire and a social observations because she brings to light the aspects of society that she believes to be unfair or ludicrous, and she does it with humor and wit. So it's not only a romance novel. It is a romance novel. It is considered to be the foundation of the romance genre. But it's not just that.
Yeah. Because we can have both. We can have only and we can have both. And in this case, it's all. Totally. And I kind of like thought of it once because again, we went into this blind. We didn't have the reading guide yet. So I hope you guys, this helps you guys out there listening. But going into it, I'm like, okay, this isn't historical romance, right? Because that's somebody that's in the future writing of the past. No, this is kind of like a contemporary romance that also has the criticism of societal norms at the time. So, just that going into this book, is it's almost like reading your contemporary romance of the time, as if you're there right then and there, because that's somebody that is literally experiencing these things, writing it, and then offering a critical lens to those problems and issues of the time.
Yeah, I think that...
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. I think that helps, too, because I feel like for me reading it for the first time, I definitely struggled with that, for sure. But if you look at it like, okay, if you're walking around in the early 1800s and you're like, hey, I want a romance novel, and you pick it up and then you see like, oh, romance has always been used as this tool for women to critique the societies that they live in, right? Like at whatever time that is. And Jane Austen, is choosing to do it in a way that is satirical. I feel like can be a little hard to understand now in 2026 if you don't know going into it that that's what we're looking for. So that's why we're doing this. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if I would have known that going into it, I think that it would have made it a little bit easier for me to read too.
Yeah, I get it. It's really like it has influenced every modern romance novel out there. It has all the romance trope that we read on a daily basis. It's kind of an enemies to lover, miscommunication, misunderstanding, the proud and emotionally reserved love interest, the witty, independent heroine. Like it's all there.
A little bit of forbidden love too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
think about it. You have different classes.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah. Are you obsessed with the movies or miniseries or Pride and Prejudice as well?
I do. I have like opinions.
Okay, let's share them.
Okay,
because it has quite the cult following. Like we knew things about this book just due to memes and reels and things like that. So yes, please share your opinion on these adaptations. Do you feel like they do the book justice? Are they worth watching? Spill it.
First of all, every BBC miniseries about Jane Austen novels, every adaptation is absolutely faithful to the book. Like it's word for word, like almost like it's insane how exactly the book it is. Especially maybe for the calling fifth scene at the lake for Pride and Prejudice, but it is perfect. Like I have the DVD collections because I watch them all the time, and I need to have a format that I can watch that doesn't go away. Like if I don't have Netflix at the time or whatever.
We stand
so
physical
I have
media
them
over here. Buy your DVDs, guys. Buy your CDs. Buy your records. Like we can't let them take it from us. Like they can virtually.
Exactly.
So fully support that.
So I have them, and every time I read or reread a Jane Austen novel, like I watch the BBC series right after, and it's just it. I think I read Sense and Sensibility in 2022 for the first time because I hadn't read it before, and I watched the show right after, and I was like, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. There is like, so if you're not that much into reading, or if you are not sure if you want to read it, I think this is the perfect way to start, but it is longer than a movie.
Yeah.
We discovered that when researching it.
So we're like, oh no, we don't have time to watch all of these because we were just thinking it was 2 movies. But that is so wonderful and so rare to hear, honestly, because we do a lot of book versus movie things that when applicable, and it's very rare that it does a good job adapting, right?
Yeah, well, there are some exceptions in the Jane Austen departments. also, but I feel like most of the adaptations that I've watched, I didn't watch the 1980 one, I think, but it doesn't have a great rating. But like, I feel like the movie with Keira Knightley is probably the most visually pleasing,
for sure.
and it follows the story really, really beautifully. It's a great adaptation. It's not word for word, but it's like some scenes are happening at some different places, but it makes sense for a movie to be done this way. So it's more cinematic.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The music is amazing. I mean, it's perfect. Even though it's not the most faithful adaptation out there, it's still perfect. So these are my favorite adaptations. Like both, I do watch. If I reread the book, I have to watch, and I usually just watch both. I just
Love that.
I cannot.
There's a
help it.
time and
Now
a
I
place
feel like
for
I
both.
need to.
Yeah.
But if you want me to talk about a non-faithful adaptation of Jane Austen, I can, because there is a movie called Persuasion on Netflix, and it's just it's a good movie if you take it away from Persuasion. It's a fine movie, I guess, but it's not Persuasion. It's just it's not.
It's its own thing. You know, I feel like that's a really interesting, because I was kind of talking to my husband about this, and we talked about it on the Wuthering Heights reading guide as well. You know, I think we're so used to wanting to avoid spoilers when we get into a new book that we do the same thing with these classics if we haven't come around to reading them yet. And I almost think, you know, that it's more useful if you can find a really good adaptation, like you're saying, you know, like the BBC adaptation, to almost watch it first to kind of help with the reading process afterwards. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, yeah, sure, you're spoiling it for yourself. But at the same time, if you understand the novel that much better, then it's worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you see more things. Like you visualize things easier, and I think you can catch up on more details. So I am not against watching adaptations first if you know they are faithful.
Yeah.
I think it's actually quite smart.
I did a weird thing with the Keira Knightley movie where I was like, okay, I need to make sure I watch this movie before Liz and I film our deep dive episode. I ended up watching the first half about 70% into the book. And it actually helped me finish the rest of the book easier, because I do actually struggle with the way it's written because it's very proper. And some of the words that they use are not words that we use in our day-to-day anymore. So it can take some more motivation to get into. So once I can kind of take out the part where I'm trying to visualize the characters and the family tree and everything, because I've at least seen it halfway through, then for me that helped connect the dots and made the rest of the book a lot easier. So that's an option for people
that
too.
makes sense.
If you're like us and can never sit down and finish a full movie in one sitting anyways.
Yeah. I guess with classics, it's like, yeah, like now that we're doing this, I'm like, don't be afraid of spoilers. Spoilers will probably help you like it better. To be honest.
Especially for the ones that aren't fully faithful. So getting a light version and just knowing, like Sarah said, it's not going to be exact, but just like a loose representation. Or you can go with some of the more accurate adaptations and just know, yeah, you might be spoiled, but it's just different. Reading the book is different.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I don't know, you finished the movie or not?
The movie I finished. Yeah, we just didn't do the show.
How did it end? In Europe and in the US, we don't have the same ending.
Oh, what?
Oh, everybody.
That's crazy.
Go find the different endings.
because I think they thought that European viewers would be kind of weird at.
Honestly, like, I loved the ending of the movie. Like, I wasn't fully sold on the movie, to be honest. Like, it's just not really my type of movie. But like, the ending kind of honestly makes me want to rewatch it now.
Yeah.
If you're interested in Jane Austen in general, there is a movie called Becoming Jane. It is a romanced version of her biography, and it's Anna Hathaway that's playing Jane Austen.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's actually really good info. Yeah.
And I did enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it is very romanced. It's not exactly how our life went by, but and honestly, we don't know much because the sister burned down their letters, so we don't have much to know exactly what happened with her, like intimately. We know that she never married, that she turned down 2 proposals because she was like Jane in the novel or Lizzie in the novel, waiting for true love, kind of, I guess, and maybe didn't find it, but we don't have much to go on, so it is rather romanced.
Yeah.
Any other tips and tricks for reading Pride and Prejudice for the first time? Ashley, did you have anything that helped you, or Sarah, do you have anything like to add?
Well, there is a book that is called Mr. Darcy's Journal, I think.
Oh.
And it's Pride and Prejudice written from Mr. Darcy's POV.
I
Ew.
might like that better. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know if it's considered like a fanfic or it's a book. I bought it from Amanda Grange or something like that. I read it and I read it only once, so I don't remember that much, but I did really enjoyed it.
Okay.
So maybe try that if you love Pride and Prejudice and if you want to see the inside of Darcy's head, then maybe you can try that.
What about you, Ash?
Other than the advice of, if you were struggling to maybe dabble in the movie adaptations to help get your head in the game, I, of course, went back on to immersive reading,
For
which
sure.
if you guys didn't know what immersive reading is,
Tell me
it
you
is
read-
an audio.
Tell me you read the Rosamund Pike version. Listen to.
I don't know what version I read. It was good. Whatever it was good. It was an Amazon Kindle one. So it literally, like, it would highlight while I'm reading. So that helped really focus me when I was having issues with the dialogue. But I don't know what version it was.
Okay, because
other than that.
there is
That one's like the most popular, right?
yeah,
I
it's
think.
Yeah.
it's actually narrated by the character that the actor that plays Jane in the movie in the 2000 movie. Like it's
Oh, yeah, I love
Rosamund
her. I
Pike?
can't remember her name in real life.
Uh-huh.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah, she's lovely. I don't remember if that's the one I read, but that's the one you would recommend.
Oh yeah,
Audio?
yeah, 100%. There is a new one that just released that I've tried. It's a full cast, but it's not. It's not Pride and Prejudice. Like I don't.
Oh, yeah, it makes it change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess maybe they had to, but I also, like, mind you, I only tried the first chapter because I just couldn't. I've done my reread of the year a few months before, so it was too fresh in my brain, and I just couldn't. Like, there is some sentence that are very, like, known, like, quoted back and forth, that were, like, modified in that version.
No.
And it was just the beginning, and I was like, if it's starting like that, I'm just not gonna enjoy it. So I could recommend it, I guess, for someone because it could be more entertaining, more engaging, I guess, than like one person narrated audiobook. But if you want something that is very faithful to the book, I don't think that is the good one.
Good to know.
The length, I think it's only like a few hours, and I was like, that's weird.
Oh, that's weird.
So it makes sense that it's
Yeah.
different, but it's like well, I guess it could be a good entry into the book. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I would say that I did immersive reading probably at least half the time, but I definitely was like bouncing back and forth, kind of just doing whatever I had time to do, reading on Kindle or audio. I don't remember the audiobook version I got either. It was like the one that downloaded when I downloaded the Kindle version. And it was fine for sure. You know, I'm going to scream it from the rooftops forever, though. I use SparkNotes all the way through this one, too. Like, you know, I would read the chapter analysis and the chapter summary. Probably, I didn't do, like, after every one like I did with Wuthering Heights, but I would say probably after every, like, 3 to 5 chapters. And that was really helpful for me, too, because I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, Sarah, so much for joining us today and helping with this reading guide. We're so happy to have you. Thank you. We hope that you guys are enjoying these mini reading guides and it was helpful for you as well before cracking open this classic novel, or maybe you already read it and you want some clarification on some of the things like tropes and themes and characters. Whether you're watching the movie or the TV adaptations, listening to our deep dives in the future, just make sure you follow, like, and subscribe everywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast, including YouTube. And make sure to follow Sarah over at Sarah's Literary World over on Instagram, and maybe possibly a YouTube channel coming down the pipeline. She'll keep you posted for more amazing bookish content. We have different friends in the book community coming up to help us because we're covering Little Women after this. So get to reading, you guys. It's going to be a reread for Liz and a first read for me. And you can let us know which classics you would like us to cover next time we do a classics deep dive. Thank you guys so much for coming today, taking time out of your book and your day to hang out with us. And thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
We appreciate it so much. Bye, you guys.
Bye.